Hey everybody, Sister Fantastic here, and it's my birthday month. So for my birthday meal, one of my favorite meals is Swiss steak. So I've got a couple of really nice steaks in here browning off, and as soon as that gets nice and brown, I'm going to add in some onion and carrots and celery, bell pepper, some fajita seasoning mix, corn and chili beans, and I've got some like hot spicy tomatoes, and then a few little tomatoes that were chopped up left over in the fridge. So I'm going to put all this together in this pot after the steaks brown off. They're on the second side right now. And then I'm going to put it together and cover it with, this is a cast iron skillet, and I've got a lid here for it, and I'm going to cover it and let it simmer on, I'm just going to set the stove on warm because that'll be enough to stew it. And it's going to get really super nice and tender, and then we can serve it with whatever we want, whatever side we want. We could do cauliflower mashed potatoes or whatever. But anyway, I'm going low carb. It's not completely keto because of the corn and the beans, but it's going to be a birthday dinner. It's my birthday, so I'm celebrating. I'll show you what this looks like when I get it all put together. Okay, right now I am cooking the onions and the bell pepper, and I'm browning that off in the leftover bits that were down in the bottom of the pan, just to kind of help give them some meat flavor. I've got the meat resting right over here, which I'm going to put that back in the pot here in a little bit, but I want to show you that I season with some salt, season every layer as I go. So there's some pepper, and just give that a good whiz. And you don't have to let this cook for too long, just till it softens. But you can see that the onions are getting brown from the bits that are in the bottom of the pan. That's the good stuff, y'all. That's what I call pure gold. So anyway, after this gets softened, then I'm going to add in carrots and the celery, and then we can move on from there. Alright, I'll show you what to do next. Okay, y'all, I've added the carrots and the celery, and they're softening up really nicely. Another little pinch of salt and a little zhizz of pepper. And typically I use 2 parts salt and 1 part pepper. Is how I season. And so now this meat that's been resting over here, it's only brown, it's not done. So I'm going to nestle that right down in here on top of these vegetables. And all these juices that were on this pan, I'm pouring that back into the pot. We don't want to waste not one little drop of any of that. Okay, and then I'm going to cover this and let it cook for another 3 to 4 minutes. And then I'm going to move on with the deglazing of the pan by adding in the liquids, which is the tomatoes, and then of course the beans and the corn will be added last, and the seasoning will be added last, and then we'll let it stew for about probably about an hour. That ought to get it good and tender, and that's what we want. We want this to be like fork tender. Okay, we'll see when it all gets put together. Alright, so now we're ready to add the liquids. So I'm adding in these leftover tomatoes, and then I've got these diced tomatoes with green chilies in them. It's an off-brand, but they work just as good. And then I've got this fajita seasoning. It's got cumin, chili powder, oregano, things like that. We're going Mexican style with this Swiss steak today because that's what I wanted. And once the meat breaks down, you know, we can serve it with tortillas. So, and then we're going to add the chili beans. And a can of corn. All right, we're going to give this a good zhuzh with these tongs here, and we're going to let these liquids and the seasonings mix in with the meat. And this meat is going to break down, and we're going to have, I mean, just a wonderful stew. And so I don't want to add a whole lot of liquid to this, so I'm going to keep an eye on it, and I'm going to let the you know, the juices, the natural juices that were in the tomatoes and everything, just saturate the meat. I'm going to keep the lid on it. I'm going to turn the heat down to warm, and then I'll check on it in about 10 minutes. If it needs a little water, then I'll add a little water, and we'll just monitor it from there. We're going to let this cook for about an hour, and I'll check on it every 10 to 15 minutes. All right, I'll let you see what it looks like when it all gets done. All right, y'all, I wanted to show you what this looks like. We have not added any water to this at all. It has created such a lovely juice, and this meat is starting to get really tender and break down. But look at that. I mean, the stew is just beautiful. It's rich, it's thick, and I'm not going to have to add any water to it. So anyhow, it has simmered now for about 30 minutes, and I'm going to let it cook for another 30 minutes, and hopefully that meat will just continue to break on down. One thing about tomatoes is the acid from the tomatoes helps the beef to break down as it simmers. So combined with the heat, you know, and it adds so much flavor too. So anyway, this is going to be super yummy. I cannot wait to eat it. And we've got some cauliflower rice over here, and we're going to you zap that in the microwave and drain all the juice out of it, and then we're going to add some butter to it and whip it all up and make like a faux mashed potatoes for a bed to put the steak and the gravy on. So it's going to be served like Swiss steak on the plate, and I'll show you what that looks like once we get it all plated up. So anyway, this is what it's looking like right now. Be back soon. All right, y'all, this is the plate presentation. We put the cauliflower mash on one side of the plate, and then the meat, some of the meat's broken up into the stew, but then there was like some larger chunks of meat, and so we just put a mixture of both on the plate. And we could have put this in a bowl as well. So anyhow, as you see here on my plate, there is a fork and a spoon because we don't want to waste any of those yummy juices. And so anyway, this is my version of Swiss steak Mexican style, and I could have made this like into Mexican rice, but we were trying to simulate mashed potatoes, so they're not as creamy as I would have wanted. But anyway, they taste good, and it's going to serve the purpose of having that illusion on the plate. So anyway, traditionally Swiss steak is not seasoned with Mexican spices, and it's served with cream potatoes, but this is my little low carb version. However, there are carbs in the corn and the beans, but it's still not too high. If you're in the maintenance mode, you could definitely do this meal. So anyway, this is my birthday dinner, and I'm going to enjoy it very much. So you have to let me know what you think down in the comments. All right, God bless you today is my prayer. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. Bye.